my name's Destiny Owen. I am just so excited to bring our show, The Contentment Coach with HLTV, to our audience. Basically because I am just really glad that I'm going to be able to share my story and other stories in parts and areas that people need to maybe pull through something or find what truly brings them contentment. None of us come from the same backgrounds, none of us have the same story, but that's what makes us beautiful. You may live in a home that you can barely keep up with because it's so large and you can't even clean it, or you may live in someone else's bedroom. It doesn't matter. You can still reach the level of contentment that can bring you to places beyond your wildest dreams. So thank you so much for joining us on this path, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Colliche. You know, to give a testimony, first you must survive the test. I'm feeling like I'm dying from these drugs that I injected. I can go in either arm, left or right, I'm ambidextrous. My soul is desolate, my spirit is defected. I keep making wrong decisions that will never get corrected. I'm doing what I have to, never cared about the wreckage. I keep chasing this high, but I can't ever seem to catch it. I told you my story, now let me go a little deeper. I was dealing with a chemical that's deadlier than ether.
Hey there, thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Destiny Owen with the Contentment Coach. Today we have a really special guest, Chaz Smith, as well known as Collichie. Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Great. How are
Awesome. It's so good to finally have you here.
Thank you.
Yes. So today we want to talk a little bit about a serious topic, addiction. I want to talk a lot about sort of coming from a background with a family that, you know, is addicted, or mother, father, and how or what makes you change to sort of be a different person. Like, have you ever wondered that about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, what makes us different? Because my mom, dad, they're both addicts, and it runs rampant in my family. But for some reason, I had it in me to get sober, stay sober, and you know, I wonder sometimes, like, what it was that's different. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, well, my mother was an alcoholic, my father was a heroin addict, my sister was a heroin addict. So, I mean, even at a young age when I first started using, my mother told me, like, you're more than likely going to have problems with drugs and alcohol, you know, and she was right. You know, for myself, though, as far as the change goes, you know, after hitting so many spiritual bottoms and wanting to die, I mean, that was really the thing in my life that made me want to change.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the feelings of worthlessness and hopelessness, that was really what finally gave me the motivation to change my life.
And you've used your music a lot to kind of like bring that out in you, correct? Like,
yeah.
Just kind of to filter those things to a positive, you know, a positive thing. Because I know that I feel like that's important for addicts to remember, that even though we have that personality to overdo things, that we can turn it into a positive. You know what I mean? So for me, for instance, it's fitness, yoga, and different things like that. And for you, I just have so much respect for the music that you make. And you know, I've been in that place too, obviously, being an addict. And I remember kind of looking at myself in the mirror and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm okay with dying right now, you know? Like, I'm actually, you know, and that feeling scared the shit out of me. And I knew that I had to change something, you know. So I know that you have a beautiful little girl.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, she just turned 2 last month. She really is my best friend, and she's my sidekick.
Yeah.
We do everything together when I'm not traveling and when I'm home. I have her basically every day, so yeah, she really is my entire world.
Oh, I love that. I have a 4-year-old, so I totally get that.
Yeah.
He's my little best bud too. He's not little though, he's big.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny though, because I can relate a lot to what you're saying about, you know, your mom telling you, okay, you know, you're probably going to have these issues with drugs and alcohol. And it kind of brings me back to, I sort of tried to not make that happen. You know, I was like, oh, I'm not like you guys. And my mom was a meth addict, so I never did meth. Still to this day, I've never done meth. I did everything else, you know, but I thought as long as I wasn't like her, you know, that I would be not considered that way, you know.
Yeah.
So so it's really interesting because we can set out on that path and then end up being that way anyways, you know. So what do you feel like was like the real turning point? Not just the feeling, but did you notice that once you got sober, like your career and everything just start to kind of come together?
Yeah, I mean, well, I've had numerous attempts at recovery, and, you know, I've had multiple years clean a couple times, you know, and I was actually just talking about this to someone across the street, about how I really can't even put into words why this time is different. I just like feel it like completely in my heart, and everything, obviously everything that has happened has been, you know, motivation as far as, you know, it being another relapse, and as far as, you know, doing the work that's involved to find the freedom. My daughter being an absolutely huge factor in this for me as well. You know, my careers that I have, I mean, everything I have in my life, and I mean, all that stuff can, you know, vanish, but, you know, I mean, it's the things, the internal things as far as like the gratitude that I carry. You know, the fact that I have friends and family that trust me and love me and support me today, you know, is amazing. You know, everything in my life that, you know, I've worked on as far as the inside is really what has pushed my drive and what has, you know, I just keep hitting these new levels of life that were so unexpected, especially when I thought I was going to die before the age of 21. You know, so now to be here today, it really is the gratitude that I have. It is like it's like the bottom line of everything I do, is to just be grateful, because I lived such a torturous existence for so long.
Yeah.
But now I'm saying, like, every day is just like, it's something new.
Such a gift.
It is.
Sort of like what we talk about, the get-tos, like, you know, thank you, I get to go to work today, I get to be a parent, I get to, where we can get stuck in that feeling of like, we have to, you know, and I feel like that's what kind of makes addicts different, and in a way, a little bit more special, because I treasure life so much, you know, every single day to me is such a blessing. And maybe that's why. Maybe,
yeah,
you know,
it is. I know for myself too, even when I get down or depressed or even feel just that minuscule amount of like self-hatred, it's really because I'm not feeling gratitude at that moment. You know, 90% of my day, like 90% of my moments throughout my day, I'm really grateful. You know, like even today being National Overdose Awareness Day, you know, this morning I was just thinking about a lot of friends that I've lost, a lot of really good friends that don't have the privilege to be scared or don't have the privilege to feel nervous because they're no longer here and their life was taken away from them way too early. You know, so when I keep like that in mind, and really my perception, the way that I perceive reality of like who I am as a person and like how far I've came, you know, the fact that I'm even able to be there for my daughter, because for so many years I couldn't even take care of myself. When I really put things into like a positive perspective, that gives me gratitude too.
Yeah, you hit it dead on. When I first got sober, I actually laminated a piece of paper and I listed 10 things that I was grateful for. And my sponsor at the time told me, if you start to feel like using, pull out that list and start reading it. And sure enough, by the time I get to 4 or 5, I wouldn't want it anymore. You know, because I think that you hit it right on. It's like you have to find gratitude in the moment. I don't know about you, but a lot of times, especially being that I've like lost my soulmate to a heroin addiction, sometimes I wonder, like, why do I get the chance to still be here? You know, why couldn't have he, you know, I mean, I'm sure if you've lost a lot of people, you can understand that feeling, right?
Yeah, I mean, I actually write about it in one of my songs, but whenever I first got clean this last time, I had like 30 days, and I did a lot of soul searching on this beach in North Carolina, and I used to pray for hours, and I used to scream at the top of my lungs certain questions like that exactly, like, why am I here and so many of my friends are dead? Like, what exactly is my purpose? I have to have a purpose. You know, and I look back on my life now, and it's just crazy. It just blows my mind the way that everything has worked out.
Folds into place.
Like seeing a full
And
circle.
we were talking about this earlier, is I think sometimes that we don't realize that we're working on someone else's timeline, you know, or higher power, whatever that is for you. So things don't always happen the way that we want. But yeah, I agree with you. A lot of times I sort of will sit back and think, really, is this my life? Because, you know, 11 years ago I was in prison for about 18 months and some, and, you know, here, fast forward 11 years later, and sometimes it's crazy, but I'll have little flashbacks when I own a business, and I'm like, wow, these people trust me with their credit card numbers, you know what I mean? Whereas, like, years and years ago, nobody would trust me. You know, nobody gave me the time of day.
There really was a time in my life where I didn't have one single friend. I had a couple associates that I got high with, but, like, other than, like, my mother, who really never turned her back on me, and she never turned her back on me because she was sick and codependent, etc. But, like, I had no friends, you know, and it's just crazy today to, you know, how many people I can call, you know, that trust me today.
Absolutely. Sometimes it can be a little overwhelming, I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because I'm that way. Like, when I start to feel that way, I'm a little introverted, and I just kind of want to deal with it, but I want to get that message out there. How important do you think it is to reach out at that time? You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's very crucial. I mean, especially with the drugs that are out today. It really is about life or death. I mean, it always has been, but today more than ever, it really is about life or death. You know, people having time clean and using once, and they're no longer here. I could give you a handful of names that this just happened to in the last 6 months in my area alone. You know,
That's
so.
what happened to my fiance. And the problem was, too, him being from Georgia, once he came out here, it was a whole different world, and he had no idea what he was getting himself into.
Yeah.
You know, and I agree with you. It is life or death. And, you know, every time that you pick up and you go to use, you have to be ready for that to really be the last time, because it can happen any time. Like, with him, for instance, you know, he's worked out. He didn't look like an addict, you know, whatever addicts look like. He was in shape, and so it was really unbelievable to many, many people when he passed.
Yeah.
And it goes to show you, though, that addictions run rampant everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, addiction is so powerful, you know, and I even just talk about my experience, you know, when I would have time clean and I would use, it was like, you know, something I'm very big on today is just being cautious of my decisions, but ultimately, like, is just being honest and being transparent, because I look in the past when I would, you know, when I would use, you know, I would, you know, relapse, I was going through something in my life where I would be a little bit honest with, but I wouldn't let everybody know everything. So for me, an addiction is very strong. Whatever recovery process that somebody chooses, you know, I have to keep in mind, and this is about obsession, compulsion, and denial. And, you know, and I can get so caught up, you know, even clean without the chemical and behaviors, whatever you want to say, but, you know, at the end of the day, it really is always about the drug. So I have to completely be honest, because if I'm not honest with people in my life, and I'm not honest even with myself, then I really don't stand a chance.
I love that you said that, because I remember somebody telling me this years and years ago, and they and now today it makes sense. But she had said, it was in a meeting, and she said, if you're not putting your shopping cart away after, you know, after you're done grocery shopping, when no one's looking, and you're like, okay, I don't feel like walking it over there, I'm just gonna kind of like push it to the side, then you're not in a good place in your recovery. And at the time I thought, oh God, that's so stupid, you know, like it's just, but now it makes sense, because that's what it is. It's like really the choices that you're gonna make when you're alone, when nobody's watching, right?
Yeah.
And when we get caught up in addiction, all those choices, we're like sneaky and we're always hiding stuff. So there's a huge freedom that comes with finally like being open and, you know, really like being able to be yourself. So how do you think, like, because I know that you have relapsed a few times, and I understand that you said you're not sure like exactly what it is about this time, but how do you think that it's affected your life and now like progressive in your career? Like, do you think you would have been able to obtain everything that you have if you were still using?
Oh, no.
Not at all.
No. I'm the type of drug addict that I cannot do anything. I struggle to take a shower. I would not be able to walk a dog down the street. I would
Really?
not be able to run a single errand. The only thing I do in my life is use. And as I'm using, I'm thinking about the next one. And while I'm thinking about the next one, I'm thinking about 20 now. 20 more from
One
now.
is too many.
That's
yeah.
just, I mean, I can't function or do anything other than
Really?
get high. That's my only goal in life. You know, I don't care about anybody else, self-centered to the core, self-obsessed. It's just about me and getting drugs, and that's it. So no, I would not be able to do anything as far as raise my daughter, have a job. I mean, nothing. I would have nothing. No vehicle, no home, nothing.
So you weren't a functional, or
No,
whatever
I was
they
not.
call it.
And what's crazy is even, I know like what I use doesn't matter, but even the time in my life where I was just drinking vodka for an extended amount of time, my life was still so in shambles, and I got to this point of depression where I wanted to kill myself, you know. So even along the lines for me of just drinking alcohol, I still was not functioning whatsoever. I was just a horrible person, just a horrible human
I
being.
tell that to people all the time when they tell me, you know, come have a beer with me or whatever, and I say, you don't want to hang out with the person I am when I'm, you know, trying to sleep with your boyfriend or trying to, because really I just become not me. Like, you know, I'm a whole different person with values and respect for myself today than what I used to be, you know. So, yeah, I can totally understand that. But I did kind of like function, quote unquote, a little while. But I think it's important for people to understand that it's always going to get worse.
Yeah, and I mean,
You know?
I guess I had moments throughout my years where I maybe functioned for a little bit, but I mean, it's not even about like functioning, it's about like the quality of life. It's about like the freedom. Like if I, you know, if I'm using whatever, certain drugs that are, you know, make my life manageable for a moment, it's just that, I don't know, I don't have no relationship with God, I don't have any type of like self-love, I have no freedom from self. It's just, you know, I'm still self-centered, I'm still
You're just kind of like making it through
yeah,
the
I'm
days.
just still the same person that is liable to make horrible decisions at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
Like it's not me, it's not who I am.
And it's not what you want to teach your daughter,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
So what do you feel like you're going to do different for her that, you know, maybe could have been done for you as a child? Because I think about that a lot.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Like-
it's important that I break the cycle first and foremost. You know, my dad was a heroin addict. I haven't seen him since I was 1. So I mean, just staying clean alone is something that's huge. And you know, to be there for, you know, mentally, physically, and to be there for her spiritually. You know, just give her the love that a father should give, you know, love to a child. You know, I'm really just winging it every day I wake up. It's just like, it's all new to me still. But one thing's for sure is that, you know, I've never been in love until I met my daughter. I really haven't.
There's
And,
no describable feeling.
yeah,
until-
so
yeah.
the moment, you know, the day that I met her was the day that, like, my life changed when I got clean, but like I said, the new levels, like it
all made sense at
really
that moment,
changed
right?
when I had her.
And I'll tell you, so I have an 18-year-old son, and same thing, his father's an addict, and with me getting sober, it's amazing because he's 18 now, and he's come to me and said, thank you, Mom, for, you know, changing your life, because he knows the difference between a lifestyle of that and the way that I live. And he's never had a problem with it because he chooses not to be, you know, so it does make a difference if you're just out there being the best you every day, and your kids are going to watch that, you know. So it's like such a joyous, I don't know, just such a great feeling to be able to do that for your children, right?
I agree.
That's awesome. So you have a new, I noticed that you're going on tour here soon.
Yes.
Yeah? And so what's that all about?
Yeah, just a 13-city tour with a couple of friends of mine from Baltimore, Connecticut, and Florida. So we're all in recovery, you know, and yeah, I mean, it's going to be great to just go out there and just try and spread a message of hope through our music. You know, we all basically have like our own lane of things we do, and you know, I've grown real close to him over the last year or two, so it's exciting.
How long are you going to be gone, though, from your daughter?
Just
Is that
like
going to be hard?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
only like 27 days, but there's like one stop that is remotely close to Pittsburgh, so I'll probably
Oh, so you'll be able to maybe...
Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome. whenever I travel, I think the same. I'm like, I need my son. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I miss him so much. So that's crazy. Another thing I want to ask you about, and that was seriously my next question, is how important you think it is to surround yourself with other addicts. Of course, sober addicts, not, using addicts. Because I feel like that's important, to be around people that get you.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Once again, like, I can really only share my experience, but like, whatever recovery process someone chooses is fine. But for myself, like, meetings in general, is where I go to get a level of identification. It's where I go to get hope. If I was to just stop associating with, recovering addicts or quit going to meetings, then like I'm just left to myself. And of course I get busy, I travel, but I always stay connected. So when I'm home, I try to go to a lot of meetings, because if I don't want to say like forget about that life, but after so long, it just, the disease of addiction is very cunning, it's very powerful, it's insidious, and it will just, make me think that maybe I can just use once. If I'm disconnected for X amount of time, and then I'm not doing all these things, and then my prayer starts slacking, and just, then, the things that are horrible ideas might start to look a little, enticing, or think that maybe I can't handle it since I have over 4 years now, or whatever you want to say. But I don't, it's I can't, but we can, and I really believe in that, because, any struggle that I face today, I handle it with, 5 of my closest friends, and like there's just really nothing in my life that I handle completely alone. And when I try to attempt to do that, I fall on my face. So.
I only laugh because I remember like going to, or hearing once, you've been your own boss for a while now. How's that working out for you? Because I think that we do try, and then we're really stubborn, and we don't want to like be accountable, or talk to other people on how to live. Like, that's the last thing that we want from anybody, right?
Yeah.
But it really makes all the difference in the world. Like, it makes all the difference in the world.
Oh yeah, 'cause, I mean, even sometimes a lot of my thinking can be insane, but I think that it's it's the right thing to do. But then I'll have 3 people be like, "What are you talking about? That's definitely
Plus,
not the
it
right
gives it
decision."
time for you to like kind of go through it in your mind, right?
Yeah.
And so you're not acting on just straight away from emotion.
Yeah.
And I think that's important also. So you've been really creative though, from 2005 or somewhere
Yeah, pretty
around
much.
there?
Yeah.
So did you always know that this was sort of your outlet, or how did you get into your?
Yeah, with music, it's kind of crazy. Like, I didn't like grow up or even hang around with people that did music or even wrote. So I got, like, first time I got clean, I think I was like an outpatient, and I came home one day and really just started writing. I know it sounds weird, but no one pushed me, no one forced me. I wasn't even really influenced by anybody local. I just started writing, and
How old were you at the time?
I think like 23.
Okay.
So then, and it's kind of crazy because a lot of the principles, in the program, I kind of carried into my writing, as far as just being transparent and being honest. And I was like, if I'm really going to do this, then I should just talk about my life. And then the more that I wrote about my life, there really was that sense of freedom, and I would, even like in the early days of my writing, I talked about a lot of things that were very embarrassing, a lot of things that I knew people were going to judge me for, but I just didn't care. And I almost looked at it like, if everybody knows everything about me, then there's nothing anybody could ever say to me to like put me down. And that's still how I look at it today, to like live a life with absolutely no secrets. I know secrets would die in the light of exposure, and I got nothing to hide, never have. And I don't know, it's just a very freeing way to live life, I guess you could say.
That's so inspiring to me, because I always tried to hide that part of my life. Doing what I do for a living, I picked and chose who I wanted to tell.
Yeah, I'm not saying everybody has to,
no, well,
yell at the top of their lungs, hey, this is,
of course not.
I'm just, with me, that just, that's what I chose to do.
But after, like I said, I had the loss in my life of Michael when he passed away. I decided, no, this is me. Like, this is who I am. I have to share his story. I have to share my story, because that's the only way that other people learn, And so it was really hard for me, like, to just be out there and tell, because I train like a lot of police departments and all these things, you know. And I really thought people were gonna even stop coming to see me, you know. But now it's just like a joke, you know, like I'll be training them and say, you guys fed me bologna sandwiches for a year, you better do all those burpees that I'm telling you to do now, you know. So it's pretty crazy, but it is a free feeling. Like, I don't have to feel like I'm hiding that anymore. And that makes me want to ask you, because I really love your little saying of, like, not anonymous. Mm-hmm. You know, I feel like owning that part of yourself really does give you, like you said, what a self-love, like a just a feeling like you can love everything even if it's not perfect about mm-hmm. you, right?
Yeah.
And so for you, what does that mean to you? Like, not anonymous, or how important is it to you to be, you know, that upfront and get this message out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely important. I think it came to me easily, like I said, simply just by being very connected early on, as far as when I, you know, got clean. Like, everybody in my life, to a degree, you know, is a recovering addict or alcoholic. But I don't know, I mean, this is just me. I just choose to not struggle with saying that I'm an addict, because I know that you know, this is such a huge epidemic, and, you know, we have X amount of people dying every day, that just to let people know that there is hope. You know, I talk to a lot of people from, really all over the world, but especially all over the country, that you know, really don't even really have the resources to get help, or they're ashamed because they live in this small town in the middle of Kansas, or, you know, so just, you know, being able to show them that, you know, that recovery is possible. You don't always have to live the way that you once lived. Then, you know, if I could help people by doing that, just simply by saying, hey, this is how I used to live and this is how I live now, mm-hmm. then why not?
Just by you being here today shows, you know, that you really are doing a great job in your program. Because really, though, for you to be here and just kind of interact with everyone that's also in addiction, it gives everybody hope, you know, like obviously you've, you know, you've reached really high goals that I'm sure, like you said, you never expected all these things to happen. And so I just really want to get that message across, that if you do the right thing, everything kind of works out, right? Like everything just sort of falls in line, and you can live a world or a life amongst the wildest dreams that you've ever thought. You know, sometimes I'm just so grateful for how great my life is.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. You know, I know also, like, you know, it definitely takes a lot of faith, you know, self-discipline, sacrifice. You know, my message really is too that, like, no matter how many times you fall, you know, honestly, if you are still breathing, then you are capable to change your life. And that's not even with just using, that's with anything. Anything that I have in my life that I don't like, that is, you know, throwing me off my square, like, only I have the power to change that, you know. So, I don't know, just to really never give up, whatever goal, whatever, you know, challenge you have, to just really just face it and just keep moving.
I feel like that's a big issue, though, for people that do, you know, some people think relapse is just part of recovery, and some people, they really lose hope in a chronic relapser. And I mean, I understand, but I don't. I want to help the people that are in that point, because obviously they've gotten sober times, but something is there. And I'm a big believer that addiction manifests itself in many, many ways. So it's like, even though you're not drinking or using, the attitude is still there, and it's basically, you're just like I guess like a dry addict or a dry drunk or whatever they call it. But yeah, so yeah, definitely. So how do you feel as far as that goes? Like you said, because you were kind of a chronic relapser, did you have that issue? Like, a lot of people give up on you?
I mean, not really, because I managed to put, like, time, like, I guess, in between my relapses. you know, the way that I would treat it, like the way I treat it today, you know, as far as, you know, even with other people, is that I could really never measure somebody's desire to get or to want to stay clean, you know, because I was so broken for years before I ever got clean. I wanted to stop for a long time before I actually ever did. You know, and the same thing you said, like, I get it, but I don't. Like, I have, like, good friends that have been through way worse stuff than me, and they still can't get and stay clean. So it's like I get it, but at the same time I don't get it. But they've also have had freedom, have had time before. So it's just, you know, recovery is very personal to each and one of us, and you know, we all have our different paths. But it is. I truly, that's why I'm like very grateful for where I am. Bring it back to the gratitude, and that's like why I take my life today with a huge dose of humility, because I really am the type that I could lose everything. Yeah. So I don't ever get it twisted that I have this, or that my life is so amazing that I'm never gonna fall. You know, it goes back to the cautious decisions and really keeping my recovery first before anything, because without my recovery, I really have nothing. So. And
even if you do have things, you don't, you know, because I've been, you know, as well, like in my addiction, had material things, but so empty on the inside. That's important too. We always need to be working on ourselves. And I remember, like I told you, after going to prison, something really hit me when I put my son to sleep. You know, I used to rush it. Like, okay, here's another book. Like, come on, would you fall asleep already? And that was something that changed for me, is I got grateful, and I didn't rush anything anymore, because I really wanted to, like, just enjoy every single second that I had with him, you know? So, yeah, so I just think, like I said, that's why I feel like addicts, in a way, are almost a little bit more special. So what do you think's coming next for you? Another daughter?
No. Hopefully, no. Nothing, just a lot. The tour, obviously. Then after that, just shows, and I mean, really just see wherever God takes me.
One day at a time. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming to share your story. I know you're going to inspire so many other people, and it just really means a lot to all of us here and all the people that are going to be able to see this. So I really appreciate it, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Contentment Coach with me, your host, Destiny Owen, and our special guest, Chaz Smith, aka Collichie. Tune back in next time for more stories of inspiration. Bye for now.
Colliche. You see, everybody got a story to tell. Well, here's mine. My pain's deep, I've been through hell. I managed to survive, so I got a story to tell. Listen, I stand victorious, make the sign of the cross. Look, I'm here to be the voice for every friend I've ever lost. Let me pray as I put together my hands. I've never been ashamed to tell you the person I am.